I know for a fact that a lot of volleyball players want to play the game at the collegiate level. In fact, you might be playing the game right now with the hopes of playing at your dream school one day. The process in which a high school volleyball player will talk to potential colleges about going there and playing for their programs one day is called the college recruitment process. And it can be pretty daunting. There were a lot of things that I learned firsthand as I was communicating with colleges and figuring out where I wanted to spend the next 4 years of my life. And so for today's video, what we're going to do is talk about the volleyball college recruitment process. If you have dreams of playing college volleyball one day, this video will give you everything you need to know. Before we talk about volleyball recruiting, could you do me a huge favor? Leave a like on this video, comment down below what your dream school to play volleyball at is one day, and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are currently on the road to hitting 300,000 subscribers. Also, if you want to see more PME volleyball content, I create all sorts of skits, how-tos, relatable reaction videos over on my shorts channel, PME Volleyball Shorts. I highly recommend you go check out that channel for some more PME volleyball content. Now with that all out of the way, let's hop into today's video. There are going to be 3 parts to today's video. In part 1, we're going to go over all of the basic necessities of the volleyball college recruitment process. And in part 2, we're going to directly take a look at my journey getting recruited by colleges to play volleyball. And in part 3, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks, things that I learned along the way of this process. So let's hop straight into part 1. Volleyball recruiting simplified. If you want to play competitive volleyball after your high school career, the best way to do it is through a collegiate program. There are different levels and institutions of collegiate sports. You might have heard of organizations like JUCO and NCAA, but the biggest and most common organization that college athletes play their sports in is called the NCAA. And the NCAA is where the best volleyball programs exist, and it is also where the most volleyball programs exist. So we are going to be taking a more direct focus, just talking about the NCAA. There are 3 different levels in the NCAA where you could play volleyball. There's Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. D1 volleyball is the most competitive, and then there's D2, and then D3 is the lesser of the competition between the 3 divisions. Boys and girls college volleyball differs in a couple of different ways. For girls volleyball, you should know that there are a lot more programs and opportunities to get scholarships at the collegiate level. There are over 346 college volleyball programs in the Division 1 alone. Girls volleyball has an established D1 championship, D2 championship, and D3 championship. In boys volleyball, the entire landscape is a lot tighter. D1 men's volleyball currently only has 28 programs in it. Division 2 only hosts 32 different teams. A difference between boys and girls collegiate NCAA volleyball is that in boys volleyball, between the D1 and D2 programs, there is only 1 national title. And more often than not, a Division 1 team will almost always win that national title. Division 3 men's volleyball is the largest in the landscape, and it has around 111 programs. And that is where I spent 2 years in college playing volleyball. Keep in mind, over the entire landscape, even at the top best of the best programs, there is not a lot of scholarship money available for men's volleyball athletes. This is definitely something that you want to keep in mind as you are going through the recruitment process. If it is something that you want to do as a volleyball player, you will start to get recruited around your junior year in high school. For most players, this will be your first season on the varsity volleyball team for your high school, and it'll be your 17th year if you play club volleyball. During this time, it is very common that you will start to reach out to coaches of programs that you might have an interest in playing for one day. And likewise, coaches that think you will have an impact on their programs might start reaching out to you. Knowing how to send an email is a very important part of this entire process because that is the main form of communication for a lot of volleyball coaches. But there are, of course, other ways to communicate, as you might contact coaches via calls, texts. I mean, heck, I even had a coach DM me on Instagram when I was going through the recruitment process. A lot of schools will have recruitment forms that you can fill out on their college websites. This is also a time where you should start compiling some of your best volleyball highlights up until this point in your volleyball career, so you can have some what we like to call tape that you can send out to these coaches and put in these recruitment filings and forms. This is a way that a college coach will be able to evaluate what you could bring to the table. Once you have found a handful of schools that you share mutual interests with, there will be opportunities to take tours, maybe even do some overnight camps, and overall get a feel for the program, the campus, and the team and the coach. That is a pretty simplistic overview of all of the things that happen throughout the college recruitment process. But now let's take a look at my story, and you'll see that the college recruitment process can be anything but simple. Before we talk about college recruiting, I do want to take a chance to thank the sponsor of today's video, which just so happens to be my friends over at Victory. As you may know, I have worked with Victory and their very popular carbon fiber insoles for just over a year now. I highly recommend you check out their insoles. They are so good for your volleyball shoes and will help your performance on the volleyball court. But today I have a different Victory product that I want to talk about. It is the Victory Recovery Clogs. This is the world's only recovery footwear that is made with the Victory Carbon Cloud technology. This clog right here will help you recover faster as a volleyball athlete after your practices and games. Not only does it have a super soft footbed, it also has a carbon fiber plate right under that offers even more stability. It has holes for ventilation that'll keep your feet cool, and the textured bottom offers for plenty of grip. And lastly, this reversible rear strap right here offers plenty of versatility, making this not only the best shoe for recovery, but also for daily use. If you want to make sure that you are actively helping your body recover after volleyball games and matches, I highly recommend investing in a pair of recovery clogs. You can go to the first link in the description of this video to check out the Victory Recovery Clogs. I highly recommend you do, and you will most definitely be catching me rocking a pair of these when I'm done playing volleyball. Thanks again to my friends over at Victory for sponsoring today's video, and with that out of the way, let's talk about college recruiting. Part 2, my volleyball collegiate recruiting journey. I started this process during my junior year of high school. I played for my school's volleyball team as well as a 17s club team. For me personally, I know a lot of people out there have like a dream school that they really want to attend, but this just wasn't the case for me. There wasn't necessarily a place where I wanted to play volleyball at, but there were a couple of criteria that helped me make the decision of where I would decide to go to play volleyball. Number one, wherever I decided to go, I wanted to be able to graduate from that institution debt-free. And number two, I wanted to go to a program where I felt I had the opportunity to fight for a starting spot right away. I felt like both of these criteria that I had for myself at that time weren't super impossible, but they would be just enough challenging to help me find the right fit for my college career. During this process, there wasn't a single school that I reached out to myself. This is mainly because I didn't have a dream spot that I really wanted to go to. As I was playing through my junior year of high school, I did start to receive offers from schools that were interested in me, however. I wouldn't end up committing to the school that I was eventually going to go to until spring of my senior year, which is considered pretty late throughout this whole process for most people. To put it in perspective, I will say that my high school volleyball team was pretty good. I started on varsity for 3 years, and during those 3 years, my team had a record of 43 wins and only 5 losses. My senior year was definitely considered the highlight of my volleyball journey in high school, as we did go on to finish that season with a perfect record of 18-0 and walked away from it with a state championship in New York. I do believe that if I would have been active in reaching out to some Division I, Division II teams, I could have found a higher level program to go be a part of. But there weren't any of these Division I or Division II schools that really fit the two criteria I had for myself. They would have been super expensive, plus it would have been extremely hard to get on the court right away, maybe even impossible. If I ended up going to one of these higher level programs, there would have been a pretty high chance that I would have never even had an opportunity to step on the court. So instead, I decided to choose from the schools that reached out to me and showed interest in having me be a part of their program. Over my junior and early on into my senior year, I had around 20 to 25 different Division III schools reach out to me. I also did get an offer from an NCAA program as well. These schools ranked all over the Division III landscape, with some of them being at the top and some of them being closer to the bottom. I decided that I was going to go to Lancaster Bible College. At the time that I was being recruited, they were hovering right outside the top 20 for all of the Division III men's volleyball teams. I got in contact with a coach during my senior volleyball season, and he even came out to Long Island to watch one of my games. After my senior volleyball season in the fall ended, I would end up taking a tour to Lancaster Bible College that winter. The school had pretty much everything I was looking for throughout this process. It was a relatively cheap tuition cost, especially when I factored in the academic scholarship money that I was eligible for. We'll come back to that in a little bit. The program was also looking to recruit a setter for the future, which is a role that I would eventually be able to claim. I played 2 seasons for Lancaster Bible College. Over those 2 seasons, I was able to accumulate just around 1,700 assists, 2 conference championships, being named the MVP in both, and in my sophomore campaign, we were able to take a trip to the NCAA tournament. At this point in time, I am no longer a member of LBC, as I have decided to focus on PME volleyball full time. But I look back on my college experience very fondly. I absolutely love some of the teammates that I played with. They become my brothers to this day, and I played some pretty good volleyball there. There were a couple of major lessons that I learned along along the way of my recruitment process, and there were a couple of things I wish I would have done differently. So let's take a look at part 3 of this video. These are my best tips and tricks to getting recruited in college volleyball. Number 1, I think it's super important that you identify your college criteria. It might be your dream to play for the top Division I school in the entire nation. A place like UCLA or Long Beach for boys, or a school like Nebraska, Wisconsin, or Texas for girls. I don't want to burst your bubble, but I will say for the majority of volleyball players that might just not be realistic. As you're going through this process, I think it would be a good idea to write down all of the realistic criteria that you want for your college volleyball experience. These criteria shouldn't be super audacious. They should be ambitious, but also achievable. My 2 criteria were graduating debt-free, and although I didn't graduate from LBC, I still walk away from my experience with that program without having to take out any money in loans. And the other thing I wanted to do was play right away. And I was able to do that at a pretty competitive D3 volleyball team. I probably would have ended up reaching for a school that I had no business going to if I didn't have these criteria I gave myself throughout this process. So just know a couple of things that you want for yourself as you're going through and navigating talking to these schools. And then I would hope that you eventually settle on one that meets these criteria. Number 2, make the decision of where you go to college for your life career, not your volleyball career. The reality of where the sport of volleyball is that playing professionally isn't super ideal. To be considered a professional volleyball player, you either need to be one of the top 3 volleyball players at that position in the entire country, or you need to go overseas and play for a professional team somewhere else. But only like the top 0.001% of volleyball players in the world actually make good money. And for the rest of those professional volleyball athletes, you're not compensated very well at all. So until there's a volleyball league that probably needs to be established in the United States that pays volleyball players according to their worth, I would take into consideration going to a university that'll help you advance in your life career rather than your volleyball career. Find a university that has a good program for the degree that you are pursuing, because the 4 years that you get to play volleyball at that college are temporary. You don't want to neglect your education during this time. The last thing that I would ever want for somebody watching this video is to commit to a Division I program, finish their education hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and have no idea what they want to do with their lives past playing volleyball at that university. It may be you want to pursue becoming a professional volleyball player, but the sad reality of where the state of volleyball is right now is that that career choice will only get you so far. So I think there is a world where the university that you decide to go to can not only be an enjoyable place where you can play volleyball, but also one where you can focus on what you want to do with your life past your playing days. Tip number 3, this is super important. You need to be focusing on your high school grades. They are super important. It is super difficult to get any athletic scholarship money for volleyball. Even at the D1 level, they barely have any full ride scholarships that they can give out, and what ends up happening is they split up those scholarships and divide them between 3, 4, 5 players on the roster. So if you want to have the ability to get money to play volleyball in college, it's gonna come from your grades. Having good grades could be huge for your potential volleyball career as you're looking at different universities. It can make the best possible program you can play at a lot cheaper, and maybe you'll end up even being able to play at that institution for free if your grades are, well, good enough. I had a GPA just under a 4.0 during high school, and this helped cut the tuition costs of LBC way down, making it super affordable and helping it meet my criteria 1, which was graduating debt-free. I guess I could be considered a college dropout, but that's besides the point. And tip number 4, I want you to put emphasis on the colleges that you end up visiting. When you narrow down your list of colleges that you have been in communication with, teams and coaches that want you to be a part of their programs, you will have opportunities to go take visits to those campuses and universities. I really want you to pay attention to how those college visits go. You're gonna do these visits and see the coaches, the current members of the team, maybe future teammates as well that you're doing the tours with, and all of these people will be the majority of your time going forward in college as an athlete. So I want you to make sure that the college that you end up attending is a good fit for you, not necessarily the best top dog program that you got accepted into. See if you can envision yourself living there for the next 4 years, because that's probably what's gonna happen. Way more than the volleyball that I played at LBC, the teammates that I had, my friends for life, helped shape me and become who I am today. And there's a handful of those boys that are probably gonna be in my wedding. At the end of the day, as much as the college volleyball recruitment process is finding a place where you can go to play volleyball at for the next 4 years, I think that it equally should have nothing to do with the sport of volleyball at all. And I think you should view the recruitment process as finding a place place where you can be everything that you want yourself to become, way past the game of volleyball. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video helped you if you are currently going through your college recruitment process. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Comment down below and let me know how your recruitment process is going if you are currently doing it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. Go check out PME Volleyball Shorts. It is where I make all of my short form volleyball content, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.